there's a lot of whirring there. I assume that means we're actually live now. Let's hope so. Hey, folks, everyone. I hope you are doing very well. This is the 11th episode of the Double Feature Horror Show. Big welcome to anyone watching live and to anyone on catch up. Hope you are enjoying it. We should have an interesting one, quite varied. We've got a very modern film, and I'm kind of inclined to counterbalance that by going back and doing something a bit more classic. I've also got a little bit of channel news I want to quickly drop that I'm very excited about. I have a working CPU for the first time since February, so I'm back on the editing train. I'm holding off at the moment, but I'm kind of tempted to get started again pre-work tomorrow and see what I can come up with. I can't promise when they're going to drop. So since you've got a weekly stream, I think I'm going to sort of maybe focus on dropping them as bonuses. But I hope you're looking forward to them.
Very much so.
No, should be sweet.
Absolutely.
And that includes the chicken stream. I've promised I'm going to sit out. I'm going to stream with the chickens, which I don't know how much people are genuinely enthusiastic about that and how much they just want to see if a chicken's going to crap on me on stream. It's pretty likely, guys. It's pretty certain.
I'm not going to lie. It depends on how hungry I am.
I was about to say I'll do a cooking stream at the same time. A bit of competition.
Savagery.
Be like before, after.
Well, we've also got some very interesting heresy on the stream. Some disgraceful commentary there from co-hosts Haryan and that crying guy. How you doing, folks?
Yeah, not bad. What up, my drillers, etc.
What up, my shillers? How are we doing?
What up, my killers? And we are joined by Charity Rivers.
Hello. So I'm being actually really made up to be on.
No,
it's been the highlight of my week. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, fantastic!
I've had so much uni work on, so this has been the one thing that I've been yes, can't wait.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah, that's how I feel every week.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite the contrast to the usual day work. And it was a really interesting film you brought for us today, I've got to say. I'm quite glad you put it forward because, yeah, I mean, it's something that's sort of been on my mind. I've seen it referenced quite a bit and thinking, okay, that's kind of an interesting one. We might want to do that. And you gave us a prompt.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, Charity, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about sort of you and horror, whether you've got a lot of experience watching it, whether you're sort of dipped in and out, just to let us know.
Okay, so yeah, well, I'm from Liverpool, in case you couldn't tell by my accent, but yeah, I love horror films, but I've always been into horror films ever since I was a kid, kind of thing. And the only reason why was because I used to kind of sneak and watch them on the internet. I used to go on those free website show, do you know those things that you get the films for free? People will upload it. It was just the first film I watched, and it's probably not even 5 minutes before the first Scream reference, but that was the first one that I properly sat through.
Nailed it.
And that's
it.
Boom.
And then
Scream reference ever.
And just from there, I kind of just fell in love with them, really. And in terms of the horror that I tend to like, it is very much the slashers. I do love I like supernatural ones as well, but mostly it's the slasher films.
Oh, I can respect that. I can massively relate to the sort of sneaking the films, the sort of staying up. You're probably safe in an era of streaming. I used to be up when they would be showing the horror films. Typically, they'd make you wait until about 11 to get them on.
Yeah.
And I was maybe a tad too young to be watching them, and I'd have to be sort of sneaking them as well. I'd be so close up to the TV screen. It would be like Poltergeist, little Carol Ann and Poltergeist. And the volume down super low so I could get away with it.
I
I'm not
remember.
sure.
I remember being a kid, and if my mum was watching a horror film downstairs, she'd always leave the sort of like the front room door open, and I'd sort of creep down the stairs like as quietly as possible, and then just sort of peer my head around and try and watch it either obviously through the gap in the door or through the crack in between the door and the door frame. And then as soon as the film would finish, my mum would get up and then I'd peg it upstairs. So yeah, we didn't have internet back in those days because it wasn't really a thing.
Another thing I used to do was like when I was dead little, not dead little, but like when I was like not really old enough to be watching them. I used to go with my nan shopping, and I used to like get her to put them in with her shopping, and she would never check the labels because she doesn't really understand all that stuff. So I'd just buy loads of horror DVDs and just sit up on my laptop up in my room.
That's because she never saw part 1 of the BBFC.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that? The 15? Oh, it's 15 out of 10. It's super highly rated. They loved it.
Yeah,
That's a critical score.
The critics love
but no,
it.
one thing I will say is, I mean, I think it's because I'm 21, so I'm quite young. So a lot of my like horror things that I like are a lot of them are very more modern, I think, and that's just probably like a generational thing. But I'm not too sure.
I find that really interesting that everyone's coming into it, and it's like they sort of have a horror paradigm from where they've started. So like my stuff is like I start looking at stuff with like a base point of what was happening in the 80s, and you're just coming in. It sounds like if you're starting off with Scream, you're watching horror that's already a bit sort of nudge, nudge, wink, wink, a bit sort of play with the audience, a bit snappier, a bit more, how can I say, meta.
Yeah.
I find kind of interesting. Also, for one, we're not going to be bullying Haryan for being young this week.
No.
He's not the youngest on screen.
Not just bullying Haryan for being young this week.
Not just.
Yeah, it's my turn now.
How do you feel about Destiny's Child?
Oh, love them.
See,
Go on.
Fantastic.
Haryan's just thrilled that Boris is allowing us to hug people again from next week.
I don't hug anyone. What do you mean?
That's my point.
Haryan, don't worry.
Do you see what Poe tweeted at me when I was like, "Oh, cuddling's now a revolutionary act"? She was like, "Oh, be honest, Harry. When's the last time you actually hugged someone?" And I'm like, "Oh, why are you ruining my Monday?"
Poe's an absolute savage. I can't believe that. That's shocking. Absolutely shocking.
I know, she's terrible.
I just loved your
I
loved your response to the casual Shrek's ban being lifted, and you were like, "And it makes absolutely no change to my life whatsoever."
Oh well.
Mind you, I laugh, but I'm married, so.
What a self-own. What do we... Also, I didn't ask. Chat, how are you doing? How are you doing, guys? Did you get your horror homework done this week? It's quite a light one we set you. It was only 90 minutes or so. There's definitely going light on you guys. Mm-hmm. We got a suggestion, Empire. You want us to do Poltergeist: The Legacy? Interesting. Maybe. I think we're doing your recommendation next week, aren't we? I think we'll cover it later. You may have heard my cat chipping in. It does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
Hello, lad. All right.
I did hear Gatsby.
Well, I'm going to quickly get into the topic. It's quite a brisk one this week, but I think it should be interesting. Hopefully, I wanted to cover some older horror films that you maybe haven't considered. If you're sort of interested in watching something really out of the wheelhouse, which I sort of hope we can do on this, I'd like to open people up to watching things that they wouldn't try and sort of broaden the experiences. And I think we tend to pretty much naturally stick to more recent things, and going back in time can feel quite weird with cinema. I find it quite fascinating. I actually habitually tend to watch quite old films, just because they seem to sort of automatically become more interesting. just because you're seeing essentially a completely different society that the film doesn't think is particularly worth commenting on. But I'm watching it thinking, hang on, that's what their trains were like? That's amazing. Or the way the way their pub looks, that's incredible. That pub looks absolutely based. I wish I could go there. You know, I'm watching strangers on a train, and these regular guys just order a couple of whiskeys on the train in the middle of the day, and someone brings it. Oh, it's just amazing. You wouldn't get that on the old Virgin Crossrail, would you? 11 a.m.
No.
You can get canned gin and tonics, to be fair, but it's not the same.
No.
As fancy whiskey.
So what I thought I'd just run a few by you. So I'm going to start with roughly chronological order here. Frankenstein, of course, will be familiar. If you, I'd say this is one you've got the greatest chance of being familiar with. But of course, there are about 1 billion Frankenstein movies. This
Young
one is very. I mean, heck, I've got another Frankenstein movie in this list. But this one is meme-tastic to an extent. The whole "it's alive, it's alive," in the name of God, I tell you, it's alive. That is this Frankenstein from 1931. We also mentioned it last week quickly. This is one of the reasons we got the delicious H for horrific certificate from the BBFC.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah,
Nice.
hey, it's Almanian. How you doing?
Hi.
The cat says hello as well.
Yeah, he's gonna do that. He is gonna do that. Well, you know, tell me, all you have to do, you gotta
Hello.
you just gotta oil yourself up, and you just gotta slide into those DMs with a good suggestion. Ideally of a horror film that you know, beggars can't be choosers. And you know, you kind of put me to the post already, Charity, because I was going to get my Scream reference in here, because I was going to say this Frankenstein has a cameo in Scream. It is playing on a TV in Randy's video store.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, this is the version. So it's pretty cool. It was a bit extreme for the time. But it is stylish. There is a certain camp element that's played up a bit more in the sequel, but you know, don't worry about that too much. I still think it works very much as its own thing for people who are trying to watch something from the 30s. I've got Hey Sky and Hey Empire. Yeah. Oh, Empire, I've got a treat for you. I've got a treat for you coming up. It's the last one in the list. The next one, we're also going from the 30s. And
Oh my god.
okay. Now hear me out.
Is the answer no?
Now, I know this stuff here kind of looks like something you would find in a bread tuber's private folder, but hear me out. That is not a child. That is actually an adult with a very specific form of dwarfism. There's two of them in the film. This is Todd Browning's Freaks from 1932. Todd Browning's previous film, Dracula, from 1931. That was one of the other ones that gets cited and why we got that very special horror certificate in 1931. But he brought this out in 1932. It is very enticing. Again, when I said something you get from this is seeing something that you're not going to see anywhere else, Freaks is that. It's the director, Todd Browning, literally casting and hanging out with people who were in a real life freak show. And they kind of do a bit of their act in there, but it's also really cool because they're also getting lots of time to just be themselves, and these are the real people. You see absolutely fascinating things. It's controversial. People freak out about it, say it's exploitative. I think it's incredibly humanizing. You you see them being cool people. You see a guy with no arms and no legs light a cigar.
Nice.
Oh,
I mean,
how?
I'll leave that one hanging for you there. You can just
All right.
try and imagine that, or I think you should see the guy in action. It's quite amazing.
Nice.
I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it is indeed. I mean, it's very famous. Now, there are disturbing elements in it. It's quite light. The really, really disturbing stuff kind of comes in at the end, and it's basically a film that it's remembered for one or two moments that are, you know, I mean, I have said they spent most of the film humanizing and getting you to like and see the members of the freak show as human. And that's a very good point that Kent Allard has dropped in chat. The villains are not freaks, they are human, they are regular people seeking to take advantage of the members of the circus. There is a moment, though, that is pure nightmare fuel. Absolutely astounding imagery. It's so nightmarish when you're I mean, you shouldn't be surprised. They get some revenge. There is a sort of special effect at the end of the film that probably won't work for people today, but it's very brief, and the main thing is like you're going to get some amazingly stark nightmarish imagery before that. It's just, anyone who's seen it, the bit under the caravans with the rain, you know what I mean.
Okay.
Folks, I hope you're intrigued and will check Freaks out.
I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
I need to know if I need to know if there's love at the end.
There is love at the end.
It sounds almost like American Horror Story, the Freak Show season.
That
That's
is
what it sounded like to me.
100%. I haven't seen it, but I saw it referenced a lot that it was a major influence on it.
Yeah, the story itself sounds exactly like American Horror Story. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to. Todd Browning's really interesting, and he's someone that I'd like us to look at. I've seen a couple of his big pictures, but he's prolific. He's really prolific. He's done so much. I'll also fully admit here at this point, I am a bit snobbish. I haven't included any silent pictures.
Wow,
I know.
you're the
I know.
worst.
I'm a sound cuck. What can I say?
Wow.
But Freaks, very accessible, and almost all of this is on YouTube.
Oh.
This one
Oh,
is my favourite of the bunch. Dead of Night. Weirdly enough, this comes from Ealing Studios. It is kind of iconic, but I'm very, very wary of spoiling some of the best stuff in it. So I'm going to keep it really light on details. But I will say it's an anthology movie, and for that alone, it's incredibly influential. When you've seen Dead of Night, you're going to see how much influence it has on other films. You can see this lad here is Hugo the Dummy.
yeah.
Any sort of spooky dummy film has looked at Dead of Night and taken a lot of inspiration, I guarantee you.
It's got a similar look to that that puppet from Goosebumps.
Oh yeah, I
can't remember its name now.
There's no way it's not a reference. There is no way. It will stick with you. If I'm going to criticize... Oh, there's kind of a weird crossover here that I'll just throw out randomly. The unforgettably named Googie Withers, yes, is also... What? It's a great name. Googie Withers, yeah. So she's also in... I'm probably going to get this wrong. In 1927... No, it's later than that. She's in the Hitchcock, The Lady Vanishes, and she's brilliant in it. And in that, you also get, and this is really weird, this is so weird, you get Nigel Bruce and a guy who's in a double act with. I'm going to mess it up. It's something like Caldecott and Culshaw, and they're in this as like a comedy duo act in one story.
Right.
And they were also in The Lady Vanishes, and in that one, they're kind of just murking people. They shoot a bunch of dudes. It's really weird. You got this weird, I don't know, multiverse of these two films. It was weird in the 30s. What can I say?
At the end of this, did you want to stick these up on like as like a pin comment or something, just to reference in case anybody wants to go back and watch some of these? I mean, I'll definitely go back and watch Freaks, and you've kind of sold me on Dead of Night as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say if you only watch one, you should probably watch Freaks, but I want you to watch Dead of Night.
Okay.
It's my personal favourite. It's so amazing. I want to reference films that it very directly influenced, but that implies massive spoilers. I'm not going to do it. It's brilliant. And your idea about doing a pinned comment is fantastic. I'll definitely do that.
Extra credits.
Oh, it's there are reasons you have a growing channel, my friend.
Full of ideas.
I'd also say that's the one that's aged best,
Okay.
effectively. There's kind of a weird section, like you'll get to a bit of a story about golf. I'd say you can skip that, to be honest. It doesn't add anything to the film. It's a weird comic break.
Unless you like golf.
Yeah, if you're really into that.
Yeah.
All right. Night of the Hunter. Anyone?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Never heard of it.
Okay. You know the image of people with love and hate tattooed on their knuckles?
Oh yeah, you can see that in that image.
This movie.
Really?
This is where it's from.
Oh.
Now, this is from 1955. Oh yeah, it says on there, brilliant. Which is 10 years after Dead of Night. We are getting a more subtle film. It could go a lot further than it does. Like all of these films, you're not getting the big gore. Don't worry about it. What you are going to get in this is some brilliant performance. Robert Mitchum, especially, is just captivating. He's so menacing, and it is proper scary. The kids are at risk. It's about a preacher who's effectively moving in on a family, and he wants the two kids out the way.
Right.
It is haunting. It is creepy. It's very insidious. And the thing that really sticks out to me about it is just there's some underwater photography of someone drowned, and her hair is flowing in the river, and it's kind of beautiful, but she's dead.
Yeah.
And it's so creepy, and that image just stays with me. And it's so crisp as well that they got this in 55 is incredible.
Yeah. You sort of mentioned about the lack of gore. I'm assuming that's going to be the case for the vast majority of these films, just because they're products of their time, aren't they?
Pretty much. I think the last one is the only one where I'd say there is actually gore in it, and they got in quite a bit of trouble over it. They got sent up to the naughty step.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I can be very quick with this one as well. You should be familiar with that, folks. That is Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1956.
Hey.
Yes. This is brilliant. This is basically an anti-communist horror film. And the lead star's surname is McCarthy. How perfect is that?
Totally not a coincidence.
Absolutely based.
Did
It's
McCarthy
not
do
the-
anything wrong in the film?
No, McCarthy did absolutely nothing wrong in this film. I don't think he went far enough. Like he tries to run away, but he could go further. No one clipped that. This should work really well for people. This is all about paranoia. There is a really nasty moment in it with syringes that you don't see much, but you wince. I wince, and mostly there's some creepy stuff in this. there are some moments that, some moments that are so effective that all the other Body Snatchers films just stole it. So it's about this guy. He's seeing his town get overrun by these pod people, these alien clones of regular people who look just like them, but the souls are gone. There's no emotion, and they're all a collective. And he's just seeing it taken over his town, and he's getting so paranoid about it. You know, he starts pointing it out, and then suddenly he's in the minority, and he has to completely change how he acts. It's so very tense. But there's this moment where he's calling for help and calling the emergency services as you would do, and they just say his name. I forget it, but I'll say the actor's name. They say, "Just hold on a minute, Mr. McCarthy," and he freaks out because he's suddenly saying, "Wait, I didn't tell you my name. How do you know my name?" And you just realize how much they've taken over. It's a brilliant one. Don't watch the colorized version. Watch it in black and white. I think this one will work for most people. Fez, great question. They are very different films. I probably prefer the Donald Sutherland one, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
This has no Jeff Goldblum in it and no Leonard Nimoy. So if I'm naming faults,
Just if I remember correctly, when we covered the Return of the Body Snatchers, gosh, was it like 8 weeks ago, something like that? Didn't you mention that McCarthy had a cameo in the Donald Sutherland version?
I did, yes. And it's one of those examples where you don't know if the 78 is a direct sequel or if it is a sort of just a cheeky cameo reference.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Know. It's beautiful. Telmanian, the colorized version, is something that was done in the sort of early 2000s. They had a process to colorize it and make it look like Technicolor. It's quite distracting. I wouldn't go for it myself. They did the same with I think House on Haunted Hill, and I was very distracted by it. I'm not a fan.
Ted Turner colorized.
Oh my goodness, I've missed that one. Sky, is that an old one? Is that pre-60s? I'd be interested. I like recommendations from that era. Okay, so I'm trying to be quick with that, just because I realize I'm taking a while on this. As it turns out, I like talking about horror films. Who knew?
No
Sorry,
way.
folks. All right, our last one. So we've gone up to 1956. We're getting dangerously modern here.
Disgusting.
I know. Curse of Frankenstein, baby.
Okay.
Right. So this is one of the early productions from Hammer Horror. You've got Peter Cushing in there, very recognizable. Very interestingly, you have Christopher Lee in the monster role.
Wow.
And yeah, Christopher Lee as Frankenstein's monster. It's a hard sell, isn't it? It's weird.
Well, he is 9 foot tall, to be fair. So I suppose he's got the height down, but
yeah,
I know what you mean.
But he made his name as Dracula. I mean, had he made his name by Dracula at this point, or?
Ooh, that is a very good question. I don't know. I think Horror of Dracula was his first one.
Right.
Tell you what, I'm gonna Google that while I check that out. I'm not sure. I think it is pretty early because this is one of their first big successes.
See, when you mentioned Frankenstein at the beginning, saying that there was another one mentioned, I kind of assumed you were going to refer to Bride of Frankenstein. Is that what it's called? Bride of Frankenstein?
Bride of Frankenstein, yeah. I was tempted. I thought I'd jump ahead a little bit though.
Hmm.
Curse of Frankenstein, I was shocked at the gore in it. I winced at one bit. I proper like knocked back thinking like, this is 1957.
Wow.
What are you doing? Step film. And oh, I checked. It is actually Christopher Lee's first Hammer horror film. So his
Right.
Horror of Dracula came the next year in 1958. Yeah, the BBFC did not like this one. They were very critical. They really wanted them to tone it down, and it's definitely a lot more than I expected them to show. But you know, I'm a bit of a gore hound here, so you know, ignore my thirst for the clouds. But
No, don't apologize.
it's also it's disturbing. There's
Yeah.
some great bits in there, and there's a kind of interesting morality that runs through it, and you know, you find yourself you're just on the side of Frankenstein's creature again. And it helps that it's got Christopher Lee doing everything he can in the confines of the role and still kind of stealing the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would highly recommend this. It's really accessible. It's free if you've got Prime, and of course the internet is an interesting place. All sorts of things are free on it. Maybe all of these films. Who knows?
We'll have to give it a go.
Yes, highly
watch them all.
recommended. I don't know if you guys have watched many like super old films, and no is absolutely fine as an answer.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't.
Yeah, the only one I vaguely remember is the original Frankenstein, and I think it's more because of the most popular clips of it, i.e., you know, the "It's alive, and that scene with the girl by the lake.
Absolutely, that's what they got in trouble for.
Yeah, I cannot for the life of me imagine why.
Just wanted to see if she floated.
Yeah.
Kelly Chieftain, you should definitely recommend the Quatermass films. I'll put my hands up here. I feel like a failure. I've not seen any of them. I know that I know that they made good use of the X certificate. I know they made good use of the X certificate when the Quatermass came out because they wanted to put Quatermass Experiment to sort of cash in on this new interesting BBFC film rating. Folks, so I've got a bit of noise. Can you just mute yourselves just to make sure there's nothing else coming through? Just for the moment. Okay, yeah, thanks. Charity, I think it might be your mic is maybe a bit too sensitive. If you can lower the gain, you're probably okay.
Okay, one sec.
No worries, love. Okay, so yeah, I should see them. I haven't. Part of the reason I wanted to do this is I know I'm actually quite weak on films pre 1974, if I'm honest. I've got huge gaps where I haven't seen things that I really wish I had. So I am on a bit of a mission to rewatch those. So we definitely will. We definitely will get to cover some Quatermass in time, I'm sure. Interestingly, a lot of the Quatermass films were written by British writer Nigel Neal, who also did the work on Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and was so annoyed with it that he asked them to take his name off. Always a good sign, really.
Don't blame me.
Yeah. In fairness, it's I can see his point. I want to stand up for that film, though. I kind of like it, but anyway, I'm just trying. Just wanted to encourage people, like, if you're interested, but you think it might be kind of weird watching something from so long ago, those are films that I think would probably work for most people. I'm going to follow that crime guy's very excellent suggestion of leaving them all in a pinned comment so you can get the references there.
I don't know if it counts, but last week I went back and watched Night of the Living Dead. Is it Night of the Living Dead, the first one? I went back and watched
Yeah.
that because I found a really good channel which has a bunch of like old fashioned films from all sorts of different genres just available on YouTube, and that happened to be there, and it was the original, like the old black and white version, and it was a lot scarier than I thought. And what I didn't realize about it was it actually had an explanation as to the outbreak, whereas the films moving forward from that point didn't really have that. And I thought that was quite interesting because the whole, oh, how did it get here? Nobody knows. You just wake up one morning. Well, there was obviously they kind of went with that as opposed to the reasons that they gave in Night of the Living Dead, which I won't give away here in case anybody wants to go and see it.
It is kind of
yeah,
subtly dropped, isn't it?
yeah. And I completely had forgotten about that, and I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Okay, folks. I took ages on that. Sorry. Let's
Sure,
let's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
time well spent, if you ask me.
Yeah. I'll give them a watch, just so you don't feel like you
Yeah.
wasted your time.
Yeah.
So you're gonna. I think freaks will get a mixed reaction. I think everyone will love Dead of Night and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I really think people will. But we're here to look much more in depth at a different film. I'm going to try and stop talking so much. Ready or Not from 2019. Charity, would you like to tell us a little bit about this film and why you wanted us to look at this one?
Okay, so this film stars Samantha Weaving, and she starts off where she's getting married to this. She's basically marrying into this very rich family. Is it my audio all right? Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. She's basically marrying into this really rich family who made their money in board games and things like that. And as part of the initiation to the family, they have to play a game. And that game can be it's basically like a random a card thing, and whatever card you pull, that's the game that you have to play. And this time she picks hide and seek, and it's basically about her trying to survive while they're all hunting her down and trying to kill her, basically. And the actual sorry, I'm just
You're grand.
okay,
Yeah.
good. I haven't been on stream in a while, so
That is pretty much the film, yeah.
Yep.
It gets
But
into it quite quick.
yeah. But they believe that they believe that there's a curse that if they don't kill her, something very bad will happen to them, and that's kind of the reasoning for it. One thing that's really interesting as well is that, like, in order to explain certain parts of the plot that happen later on in the film, they have to have it where most of the time the hide and seek card never gets picked. So a lot of the time when people come into the family, they mostly kind of do like just ordinary games, but every once in a while they'll pick that card, and that's the one that they have to go with. And I really love this film, and I think the reason why I loved it is mostly because of the characters. I feel like all of the actors did a really good job in the roles that they were given. And I thought that it really had a really good balance of humour, but also, like, you know, horror. And the way that they built the kind of tension throughout the film and the kinds of character progression, I think I just really enjoyed it. I was like that. I was really enthusiastic about it, and that's why I messaged Proper Horror Show. I was like, have you seen this? Because I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad you did. I mean, I went into it quite optimistic. One thing that stood out to me, obviously, I was kind of intrigued because the directors, who I'm going to try and say the name of, but I'm going to mangle it. And so the rest of the film, I'm just going to say the directors.
Yeah.
So Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette are the directors. And Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy are the writers. And the directors and Guy Busick have gone on to get signed up to write and make Scream 5. Confusingly just called Scream.
So you could say that this entire stream is one subtle Scream reference.
Yeah, exactly.
You did that, Charity. Well done.
Yes. Come on.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I was intrigued because I like Samara Weaving, and I know her from The Babysitter, which was, I want to say 2017, 2018, something like that. It was on Netflix. I thought it looked trashy, no idea what was going in, and it turned out to be one of the most sort of fun horror films I had seen in ages. It gave me that sort of Fright Night vibes where you had a young character who's kind of nerdy that you could identify with, but was getting sort of brought into an adult world that was sexy but kind of dangerous. And the film was also absolutely hilarious, and Samara Weaving was brilliant in it. If you haven't seen The Babysitter, guys, watch that. It's so much fun.
Okay.
So I had high expectations. That crime guy, what are your initial impressions?
I went into the film prior because I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't seen it, so I didn't set myself up. I was preparing myself to be disappointed. I'm not going to lie, but I actually came away from it pleasantly surprised. I quite liked it for the reasons that Charity explained. I thought the characters were quite good. I loved the fact that the guy who played Tony, the father of the family, is Kittredge from Mission Impossible. I just love that. And actually, it made me find out that he's going to be in the next Mission Impossible films as well. So that would be interesting. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it because I'm always a bit iffy when it comes to horror comedies. But yeah, the balance on it was quite good, I felt, and there were a few moments that made me chuckle. So yeah, obviously it has its flaws like any other film, but for what it was, I was happy with it.
Haryan, give us some early thoughts.
Here we go.
This film was a lot of fun. In terms of, I'm just trying to think back through it. I off the top of my head, the things that triggered me were the rights to this don't know how guns work, but whatever. Because it's like there's, a bit with the Derringer pistol, famously having 2 shots fires 4 times, and then there's a 6-cylinder revolver, only fires 4 times, and then I think you can see it on the poster. Can you get the poster back up?
Yep. Give me a second.
Because this is a thing that really annoyed me in the film. It's not actually. Well, I'll go through it in a sec as soon as you get it up. But so when she finds out it's hide and seek and she's going off to hide and she doesn't know that they're trying to kill her, they all arm up from the room they were all in, the one with all the guns on the wall and stuff.
Yeah.
So they all arm up from there. All their weapons work fine. So she gets this shotgun. And I don't know if you can see, but on her chest is that supposed to be the ammunition, and they look like tank shells. They're clearly not antiques. I did a bit of Googling, so I'm like, I've never seen these before. Brass shells for shotguns weren't really invented, and they're quite a modern thing, and they are very rare, so they would not be an antique thing, but that's a nerdy thing. But then at one point, she tries to fire these rounds from a shotgun, and she's basically told, oh, they're for display purposes only. And it's like, why is every other weapon in that room workable, but not these specific shells? So that triggered me a bit, but then she does something pretty cool after just smashing his head with a teapot.
Yeah.
But, there's bits like that throughout the film that just kind of irk me a bit, but overall, it's really fun.
It kind of explains why they didn't go for that specific gun, why that was the only one that was left. Because the thing I felt about this film is that there were certain points of it that you had to sort of infer rather than be told. That for me was one, because we sort of had a little bit of a disagreement over that, because I assumed that the butler basically was like, that specific gun is for display purposes only. So, but I mean, that was what I inferred from it because of the actions that the family took by taking all of the weapons around that one. So you kind of get the inferment that, oh, actually they know that that's for display purposes only, but of course, she wouldn't. Yeah, Grace has no idea of it. And it's kind of like, right, that would be why. Because it's quite, I mean, you look at the rounds that she's got on on that holster thing. You know, they're quite
And the
big
ring.
rounds. If they worked, my God.
Well, they are. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they are. They look about 12 gauge, which would fit in the gun.
Yeah.
They don't actually see a load it, and that's because I think they don't actually fit. But for film purposes, we'll assume they do.
Well, she puts one round in.
You only see her put it on the outside. You don't actually see her put it in.
Right. Okay.
I'm like Archer. I'm autistic with these things. So, but I mean, when I was watching the video, of the guy shooting around that looks like that, it put a plate-sized hole in someone, so it would be
Right.
effective.
Yeah.
And she's trying to be really quiet at the time as well, so I don't know why she didn't slap him on the back of the head with the gun. But again, it was cool. This film was trying to have more fun than things like that. So I was happy with that.
It's funny because that specific scene gave me flashbacks to when I went to the Isle of Wight as a child with my school, and it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I needed to go to the loo, and I went in there, and there was a teacher in the shower, proper like belting out some like operatic tune, and like la 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 la, and I've gone back to the room with the other boys. And I've got guys, come have a look at this. And so we've all snuck in there. La 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 la, and then we've all burst out laughing. Get out of here, you little! And that butler just belting that out just really, really reminded me of that.
Oh, good. All right. Well, tell you what. Let's see how to approach it. Okay. I'm probably going to be the party pooper. I liked this a lot as a comedy. I'm not sure how much I liked it as a horror. As I think generally when we go through these things, when we do comedy horror, typically the balance falls in favor of the comedy. It's a lot easier to go onto the comedy side than to try and I think do the scary thing and like sincerely try and scare people. But there were some bits in here that got me, and I think the story is very promising. I'm a little concerned about the messaging, but we'll get into that. Yeah, I know. I'm going to talk about themes just in case critical drinkers around here and need to scare them off. We'll talk about themes and symbolism. But first, the plot. So we get a pretty standard horror tradition here. We're coming in with the scary, mysterious cold open. With the kids. This one surprised me. I thought this was really light on gore in the opening. I'm really showing my sort of thirst for blood, aren't I? I saw that and I thought, is this going to be like a really kind of tame film? Spoilers, obviously not. By the end.
Yeah.
But I thought it was quite a strong opening. You know, it had the idea right. It was something a bit mysterious.
Yeah, it didn't really set it up to be a comedy at all.
I mean, it was
because the guy gets shot twice with a crossbow, and he's clearly panicking for his life, and then the kid's just like, "Oh, come kill him," basically.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. So yeah, I was quite surprised when it started. When the horror started, they started trying to play with comedy a bit in it, which I thought it was all right for the fat guy with the crossbow. I thought it was kind of just going to be that much, but then it leans into it a lot more in some places. Which, the tonal shifts were, caught me off guard. I'll say.
Yeah, I mean it's a good start in terms of. I mean, I found it funny. I found people like endearing. I found her Grace very relatable. Like she kind of had me with the charm that she's got. I think she's a really charming actress.
Yeah.
And she is so funny, just like little details that she's dropping, like was it your mum keeps hitting on me? It's like
I would not have enjoyed this at all, like as much as I did if it didn't have hair in it and like the other actors.
Okay.
I think a lot of the good things about the film come very much from how good the actors are.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, Samara Weaving, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the parts where she was obviously meant to be playing a terrified person, I think I felt like she did that really convincingly. I felt quite sold on that. And like you said, she was quite charming as well. So the bits when she was talking to Alex at the beginning, just before they were getting married, it was quite natural. Felt quite natural.
A lot of people as well. A lot of people compared this to Your Next. If you've ever seen Your Next,
That was definitely. I was thinking that, and Get Out. But that's what I compare it to.
I think it's. I'd say that it's more similar to Get Out, just because I find that the character shift is a bit of a slow burn with Grace, in terms of it's kind of a natural progression, whereas in Your Next, Erin starts out very much as like a very capable, very, she knows exactly what to do, and you find out the reason for that is because of the way that she was raised. But in this, it was a lot different. I mean, I enjoyed both of them, but this one was a lot more satisfying, I think, because it's a slow kind of progression into her just, becoming a very capable survivor.
Yeah, I felt like that. The beginning, obviously, where she has no clue what's going on and she has no idea what to do.
Yeah,
she just sort of figures it out as she goes.
Yeah, and that part specifically to me was I think probably one of those tense parts of the film, because I'm like, she's just there, no idea what's going to happen, totally oblivious, and everybody else is getting ready to like kill her. It's really quite good.
Yeah, she's a good. Well, it made sense for her to be a fish out of water character for that type of thing, because obviously when she pulls out the card, everyone looks really worried.
Oh yeah,
and then she's like, "Oh, are we seriously playing hide and seek? Like what?"
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like that's the thing. Like none of the characters actually want to do this, but because of the superstitions that they have, they feel like they have to. And you could tell that some of the characters, like the crazy aunt, for example, she's more than prepared to do it. But then you've got characters like Andy McDowell's character, the mum. She accepts that she's got to do it, but she's not happy. She likes Grace, and of course, this was it Daniel. He was obviously struggling with it as well. So there was that internal conflict there. Between the family, which I thought, again, it was something that they felt that they had to do, as opposed to, it's a game, let's enjoy it. It was essentially for their own survival, really.
Yeah. I would say this film, just on that point, is really interesting. This film felt to me, pacing wise, structure wise, this film is basically Get Out, but I find it's funnier, and I like that look, it's someone goes to visit their romantic partner's family and finds out that there's a conspiracy against them, which they have to try and evade, and then eventually they're captured, and there's going to be a procedure on them. That's both of these films.
Right.
I could. There's another one I think it's also really like that is just pure horror, but I'm not going to spoil it because we're going to watch it soon.
Okay.
So I'll stick to just comparing it to sort of Your Next and Get Out. In this one, the family is so much more interesting because they have that complexity. They're much more varied. They're much more interesting, and they're not, purely malignant, purely malicious. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
That makes it work for me, I also like, this film learns a lot from the sort of Joss Whedon school of setup and payoff. Like, if you're watching this, it's not distracting at all, but you notice stuff. Like him sort of, his hesitancy about, like, you sure you can just leave? And the way they introduce the servants' corridors, which, by the way, how cool are they?
Oh, I love them. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah, with the aunt just staring at them when they're getting off on the bed.
Oh, that proper freaked me out, that bit.
That was that made me jump.
yeah, that maybe the biggest scare in the film. That freaked me out. But yeah, it did a really good job of sort of introducing things. So like it just sort of very casually, naturally introduces servants' corridors, which it later uses. It naturally introduces. I'm going to get her name. I think her name's Charity. Just casually.
Yeah,
Is
she's in
that
the
her
stream.
name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charity Ladomas.
Yeah.
So the kind of the chunkier guy's wife, who's like really hard edged, and she's like, she's basically saying she came from nothing, so she doesn't care who she has to step on to keep wealthy.
Oh,
Which
I
I thought was kind of fun.
thought she was with
She's
Daniel.
Daniel's wife.
Daniel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's Daniel. Sorry. And yeah, she just like casually gets in earlier. She's got a pistol in her bag. Like it's dropped in really nicely.
Actually, I take back what I said earlier. I mean, she seemed quite keen for it. She was the one who's probably most prepared for it, and
she had to like get up and go. She had that attitude, She was a winner. She gets things done.
Yeah, definitely.
One of my favorite.
Oh, go on. Sorry. No, that's right.
So, one of my favorite characters was the sister, the really crazy one. Like she's like the dead bubbly, like druggy one.
Yeah.
Like I feel like she gave. I think I laughed probably the most at her scenes, to be fair, and the fat guy who had the crossbow.
Oh yeah,
he was my favorite. Yeah.
I love that, watching YouTube to try and learn how to use the weapon.
Oh, how good was that?
Yeah.
Well, I love that he'd like hear her fall out a window or hear her in the servants' corridors. He'd kind of be like, "What's that?" and be like, "Oh, YouTube." They were some of my favourite bits. That
yeah,
but and the druggy sister. It kind of it annoyed me at first how she just randomly killed maids, but kind of when I started realizing they were supposed to be funny bits, I was like, okay, I'll kind of let it go.
That was her shtick, wasn't it? I mean, that's really all she. I mean, she pretty much served their purpose by the time the third and final, because there was 3 of them, wasn't there? 3, yeah.
Well,
by the time
the third one was really stupid. She's just like trying to get their attention. She just slaps the wall. It's like, oh no, she hit the dumbwaiter thing. That was the only one that I was more annoyed than found funny. But yeah, the other 2 were just jittery. What was she called? Ellie or?
She was called Emily.
Yeah, so she just shoots one in the head because it's like, oh, I see a person shoot, and then the other time she's given the crossbow, and as soon as she was given that, I'm like, she's gonna shoot someone with that, and then she does it straight away.
I wasn't expecting it to be right away. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I mean. Like I wasn't expecting it to be that, but that's kind of it added to the shock and comedy for me.
Yeah.
Do you know? I love. Do you know what I especially love about that scene? When she crossbows that maid like through the mouth, is when what's her name? Helen, the crazy lady, starts like giving this important monologue about how important the ritual is, and as she's like mid sentence, you'll hear that. And then sort of just looks, and then sort of carries on, and then eventually just loses her patience and just yeets her head off with the axe. And she's
like, oh,
just pure volleys.
I mean, I love that because you saw after she did the first maid that she's such a screw up, and it was just beautiful because it was so telegraphed that the second she got handed the crossbow it was going to go wrong, and I love that they didn't waste any time. They just went straight for it. So if they dragged it out, I wouldn't have liked it as much, but the fact that they did it instantly that was a proper I spilled my drink moment.
I think it was quite good that they did it straight away as well, bearing in mind how hyped up and how drugged up she was at the time. I think it was important that they made her mess up straight away, just to show how like off her rocker she actually was.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you see her take cocaine at some point.
Yeah, it's like it's like all over her face.
Yeah.
Guys, we're being too complimentary. I'm gonna have to complain. I gotta moan about something.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna throw out there. I felt it missed an opportunity. I felt it got too quickly into the game. I would have happily had a few more scenes like building up the unease. Am I alone in that?
Personally, I felt it was all right. I felt the pacing at that point was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have any particular issues with it.
Well, where would you have the build-up scenes exactly?
Just
Yeah,
she gets married pretty quickly, and just I'd like a sort of an oblique comment, a bit more, maybe sort of build up on the way to just a sense of something is wrong before the game a bit more. And then in the game itself, I felt that was more that what I wanted. I liked.
I mean,
it just had so much potential. Like her thinking it's just fun and games, and then the reaction from everyone else should show her that it's something very wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I got the intent. I got the impression of danger just from the opening scene, because obviously that was quite intense, and you know that the two you learn that obviously quite quickly that the two children end up becoming obviously Daniel and Alex, who Alex is being the one getting married, and you can tell that he's obviously strained with his family, and you can kind of again infer the reasons as to why that is. You know, and giving her that out as well sort of set that up for me as well. Look, you know, you don't have to be involved, like, because I felt like it was fine. I mean, not to say, I mean, who knows? Maybe there were scenes that perhaps were taken out of the final cut.
Yeah.
I do think the runtime was quite short. They probably could have put like an extra 10 minutes in just to flesh certain things out, because that's one thing that I was a bit like, I think it would have really benefited from like an hour 45-minute runtime.
Yeah, I did. I was surprised at it, because what was it, 93 minutes, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah, so.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it was rushed, which is
no.
Okay.
thing.
Just a few things in it that I'd like a bit more thing, you know.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna throw something out, and you can say, "Chloe, shut up, you pretentious windbag." But hear me out. She gets the hide and, you know, she's not coming from money. I think she would try and bond with the maids a bit more. Just a couple of scenes where she talks to them, because she would sort of naturally relate to them a bit more. And then after she's got the hide and seek card, she's going off. She's still thinking it's a game, but she's thinking everyone reacted a bit weird. So she sees this maid again, and she says, "Oh, this is, hey, where should I hide? I got the hide and seek card." The maid starts freaking out, and that's your really big warning for her that something's seriously wrong. And
Then
that transitions us into the horror a bit more.
But they're not actually maids, though, are they? They're just dancers.
Are they
I mean,
dancers?
they are maids. They are maids in at that moment. But she sort of, the scene in the dumbwaiter. She's like, "We're not even maids, you know." So and so, Tony, I think it says Tony just likes the way we dance. Implying that they're not actually maids, but they're just brought in for the game. So I don't think they're actual actual employees there. Yeah.
I'm sorry, folks, I missed that. I just, I don't know.
They kind of tried that a little bit when she was talking to her in the what is the place that she hides in, the little hole that
the dumbwaiter.
The dumbwaiter. I don't know what it was called, but yeah, it was, they kind of did that, but then like she died right after the girl. So, but I'm like, I'm not sure if they'd done that earlier and they, as you say, tried to foreshadow the horror a little bit more. Would it made that scene where she sees the maid getting shot and that's her realization? Do you reckon that would have maybe not had as much of an impact if they'd have done that?
Yeah, I that sort of thing where if she had someone she bonded with a bit more who gets shot. I mean, the maid getting shot is a perfect one. I think I wanted a bit more of a connection to spin it round. But I did like that scene. I thought that made it very real, and you know, that was one where it was more on the horror side of the reaction. I like that. I maybe am a grump. Maybe I just want too much horror.
Well, if I was going to add in a scene like that, it'd be what's the which of the women was it that was really fine with killing and not the aunt, the wife?
Daniel's wife.
Yeah, Daniel's wife. Just have her say, "Oh, you know, hope you don't get the bad card" or something like that.
A bit of cattiness.
And then she's like, "What the hell does she mean?" And then you know,
Yeah.
Alex will be like, "Well,
Yeah,
just
it's
you
fine,
know,
don't
you
worry,
won't,
don't
you
worry."
won't, yeah, exactly. You won't pick the bad one. Don't worry about it. Like, or, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, or something. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do find it funny that a ditzy maid died in a dumbwaiter.
God, he's so stupid. That was the only accidental death that annoyed me more than anything. But most the rest of it was good, I guess. Where are we up to now then?
Well, we're covering when they're on the hunt, really.
Yeah, that's a lot of the film.
But they get into it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's a very brisk film, really, which is not really a bad thing if I'm honest. It's
Yeah.
sorry,
I'm just
having
trying to
trouble
think of the
switching.
I'm just trying to think of the chronology again.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So they're going on hunting. You get the sort of interest. You get sort of the complexities. You get the scenes like where she sort of. I like when she's trying to sneak around and she just walks right out in between two groups of them. And
Oh yeah,
you get a
that
shot.
was good.
I mean, this film was good in the sort of it subverted your expectations and escalated things quite quickly. That was nice.
And then Emily tries to shoot with the 4-shot Derringer, misses every shot when she's half a meter away.
Yes.
Which I guess you can say was the cocaine, but man, you're not missing that range, but whatever. She misses. And doesn't, all she hits is like windows. That's how wide she was aiming. And then she just like runs past her. Like Emily's just like, "Oh, I'm such a screw up." Ooh, run past.
Yeah. If we were cinema sins, if we fell that low, we'd be saying, "Oh my, why don't they follow her? Why do they just let her get away?" And we'd go. Did that pick up?
Nice.
That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's close enough.
That scene
But
was
we're not
alright.
going to do that. We're not going to do that because
I mean, you're not. I am.
I think
that's a good point.
when it comes to why didn't they do these things, the impression I got, again, what I inferred from it, was that they're just incompetent because this isn't something they do often. I mean, this was the second time. I think Andy McDowell's character, again, the mum, you know, she mentions that this is the first time second time that she's had to do it, and obviously the first time was back in the opening scene. So you can tell that this isn't something that they're experts at. You know, they're not actual hunters. They're just a kooky family, you know, following a weird ritual. And this is the second time that they've had to do it. So they're clearly incompetent at this, and it's obviously demonstrated throughout. But one thing I just wanted to go back on was at the start of the game. Obviously, Alex didn't want to participate in it for obvious reasons, and so Charity was assigned, you know, stay outside the door and make sure he doesn't get out. And you talk about setup and payoffs. The what they called the maid's doors. What they called again?
Servant corridor.
Yeah, the serving corridors, that they come into play like effectively in that moment, because rather than go outside the door, he just goes through one of them to try and find Grace. So I thought that was a pretty good setup and payoff. In that, it's just there was no struggle or anything like that. It was just okay. I'm done. Out this way. You know.
I found it like he was so interesting. I do want to talk about Daniel as well. Who, now this wasn't familiar to me, but apparently he's a big guy on the OC.
Okay.
I'm told I had to mention that. I've never watched it, but I think that maybe attracted a fair few people.
He was also another Scream reference, but he was also the cop in Scream 4. I think he was, yeah. Yeah, he was one of the cops in Scream 4.
I've purged so much of that film from my memory. I feel I do actually need to rewatch it because I think I might have just been a bit too harsh. Anyway.
Well, Scream 4 falls apart at the hospital. That's my review.
To be fair, I'm going to annoy everyone now. The hospital scene was one of my favourite parts in it. Just because I just thought it was cool. Like, but I wasn't like a very like deep film. It wasn't like a profound film, but it was fun for a screen film. And I like the kind of where she says clear and she puts it's really cheesy, but it's just enjoyable to me.
I like the defibrillator kill. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame none of the hospital scene makes any sense.
I still haven't seen it, so I'm still neutral on that.
All right, I think a Scream 4 watch is. We'll do a Scream 4 watch before Scream 5 comes out, definitely. So we get that cool scene with Daniel, and it's kind of interesting because he's sort of getting a bit of ground. He's just drinking. He's not taking. I kind of like that he doesn't take it seriously, but he tries to do that thing. It's that little bit of humanity, but they're also the film doesn't play him off as a really good guy. Like they're not trying to say you're like giving her the 10 seconds. Makes him a saint. It's just sort of. He's kind of weirdly classed, isn't he?
Yeah, I found him found him to be a really interesting character because he was very flip floppy in terms of who he was loyal to. Again, he obviously had internal conflicts with going through with the game, but at the same time, he knew that he had to be loyal to his family, and he didn't want to put them at risk. And there's a lot of inferring again, but he does mention it to Grace that he was the weak one. Alex was the one that could break away from it, but he couldn't. But you could tell that he wanted to. And so obviously there was the moment when he does obviously shop her and get her in, and then sort of you turn about. And when I first saw that, I was a bit annoyed. I was almost a bit annoyed, like, come on, mate, make your mind up. But then after the film finished, and I sort of sat back and thought about it, and I thought, and actually that kind of does play into his character because he's so indecisive about it. He doesn't want to do it, but at the same time he has to do it, and he doesn't want to do it, but he has to do it. So he's
one of the most interesting characters when it comes to that. I mean, he's the most. Go on.
Oh, hold on. Am I back?
Yeah, you're fine. Don't worry. The chat's just plotting murder and body disposal. You know what, chat? You do you.
I mean,
You do
fair.
what works for you. I support the chat.
That goat shed must have stank. That's all I'm saying.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah. So we have a lot of the film is the hide and seek, and it's her evasion. As has been said, she doesn't hide that much. She mostly runs, but in fairness, sensible tactics, I think.
Yeah.
We get a fair bit of variety, and I've my criticisms for the start are like I wanted it scarier. I wanted a bit more build up of the tone. I wanted a bit more deeper emotional bonding. Like the stuff with the maids had good potential. And I wanted the transition to horror to maybe be done a bit more starkly. That's most of my complaints. The rest of my complaints are pretty much just in the realm of messaging and themes, because we're getting onto the bit where the film absolutely had me. Like her escaping to the barn. That was some of my favourite stuff in here.
It was, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I love that bit.
That's one of the best scenes, I'd say.
The barn scene. Oh, that was probably my favourite scene.
Well, even before she gets to it, I mean, Charity, how did you feel about it when? I think the bit where she squeezes through the gate and the gates, it's kind of like it's one of those movie moments that I absolutely love. Like a character's got a choice there, and the way out of it is kind of creative. That she just realizes, okay, fine, I can get through the gate, and even though it's cutting her up, she pushes her way through.
Oh yeah,
that whole sequence when she gets out of the actual mansion, like that, it really, I think it does a really good job of setting her up as like it's like a defining moment for her character of like a survivor.
Oh yeah, it's you in another film, in a proper well, I say proper horror film, but less comedic one.
Hey, that's the name of the. Oh no,
I-
no.
I know I'm doing a Superman for the Quest for Peace. I know. When yeah, in a less comedic horror film, when she actually kind of jumps out that window, it'd be a really tense moment where it's like, it'll be a close up of her like breathing, thinking about jumping 2 stories. Thinking about where she's going to land. But in this one, it's just, focusing on fat guy next to a window.
Yeah.
She just falls past it like a Monty Python sketch. And then she turns around, she's like, oh my God. Yeah.
And
Which I did
it
enjoy.
it recovered from that. Like it does. Oh, sorry, not recovered. Like that was a good moment, but it got you moving from that into the horror again really quickly by going to this really beautiful, gross image. This is kind of the film's equivalent of the sawing your, well, anything you have to do in Saw, basically, where the choice is obvious, but it's horrific. Her squeezing through the gate and getting cut up is like, it probably doesn't look good if I say it's so beautiful. Does it?
Yeah.
It's memorable imagery. It stuck with me.
It was very good.
And we get to the barn again, a little hazy in this. I always like it when a kid gets yeeted in a film.
Oh,
And
he
about you
just
guys,
volleys them across the room.
It's great, wasn't it? just pimp slapped him.
Well,
hard.
I think it's important that we set that up. So she goes into
Go
the
for it,
barn,
go
and,
for it.
and there's some, and obviously there's all the barn animals in there, and she's sort of slowly creeping around, and then she hears some noises from outside, so she goes and hides, and then as she's hiding, she sort of like peeks around. She sees that one of the kids is there in like the pajamas, and so she gets out and she's like, I don't know, Tommy, what you're doing here? And he just looks at her, points the gun. And then she's like, whoa, and then he shoots her, and it puts like a hole right through her hand.
Oh,
And there's almost this sort of like moment where she just sort of like is almost in shock when she sees what's happened. And then she just looks at him, and like you say, Terry, she just goes right over to him and just punches him square in the eye and sends him straight back and knocks him out.
Absolutely.
that was such a satisfying scene.
Yeah.
It was so well set up, and it's great imagery as well. Like the hole through the hand, it's one of those. How can I say, like, if you just get shot, it's like, okay, you see someone get shot, but a shot through the hand is it's specific and it's memorable.
Yeah.
And this was a film at its strongest, and it also, I mean, I'll just get one thing in before we stick on the hole in the hand, because we get another brilliant moment with that.
Oh.
In the barn, what are the animals?
Goats. All of them, yeah. Which I thought was a bit weird at first, till I said Daniel says a bit later about, is it before or after that where he's talking to someone else in the family and he's saying, "Oh, I thought it was a bit weird that we slit goats' throats."
That was Alex.
Oh yeah,
Alex,
yeah.
even, yeah.
Another
So-
really good bit of setup and payoff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it all connects. It all, which this film has a lot of good stuff like that, and then obviously there are other bits I've mentioned before. There's a big bit that we're going to get to, where a bit of an issue, but yeah, it definitely all fits together. And then this whole everything to do with the goat barn is basically pure serious. There's not. I mean, it depends if you want to say the kids shooting her hands a funny bit, but
I mean, her
don't know, it's
punching
pretty
him lands.
that was funny.
a bit
Yeah.
more funny. I don't think it's fair, but it's also. I thought that was really nicely balanced. The horror and the comedy were sort of nicely in play, but just that hole through the hand was so nasty. And then this, like, Charity, you picked a good one. You're earning
God.
points for this. That's that thing. Oh, the horrible choice of. The horrible choice where she's fallen down, she has to get out, and again, she can't get up. She can't get up, but there's a nail. She's got a hole in her hand. And you're given time. You're given a few seconds to realize what she has to do.
Yeah.
And that's enough to just make you say, "Oh God, oh no, please don't do it."
Pretty grim, yeah.
Like
I don't normally flinch at gore, really, but that made me like, ugh.
Yeah, that was definitely a wincer. I loved as well. I just loved that as she pulled her head up after doing it. She just looks at the boy and was like, "You little fucker."
Yeah.
I lost it. I'd be
And
saying
that's
exactly the same.
one of the best things that she does, like the character, like the little like comments that she makes when she's in pain, like and she like the swear. Oh, it made it quite endearing.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, I just loved it. That just the pure hatred in her eyes as she just looked at him like, "You."
She isn't. I mean, with great affection. She's got the kind of screen charisma of like a Bruce Campbell, of a Jeffrey Combs. She's just carrying this movie.
Yeah.
And balancing. She's got so much presence that she can do the funny stuff, and she can do the extreme pain. Like Samara Weaving actually nails this, and in case, oh gosh, in case anyone was wondering, she is indeed related to Hugo Weaving of Agent Smith fame.
Oh.
Yeah, not too many Weavings. I thought I'd look it up. Yes, they are indeed related.
How many bobbings? Oh God, I'm sorry.
That's terrible. Right.
I don't think I'm going to last much longer in these
Thanks
streams.
for dropping by. Thanks for dropping by.
Good night,
Always
love.
good seeing you, love. And yeah, so this was kind of the high point of the film for me. Obviously, I'm a gore hound. This was memorable. It was creative. The direction gave you time to really feel the pain. This is everything I'm in for.
It's also it was also a good reason to have the scene at the beginning, which I didn't think was needed up till this point, which was because when she's down there, she kind of looks to her right and she sees a skeleton with 2 crossbow bolts in him, and I was like, that's where they put the bodies. That makes sense. Yeah,
There's the repetition of the kid being the one who,
finds them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and also all the bodies of goat corpses that were down the well.
Yeah.
Nice world building. Nice world building. So anyway, it's a really good scene. She ends up going back in. My memory's a bit fuzzy here, folks. How does she end up back in the house?
So after
I'll be
this,
outside
this is
this
when
one.
she's back in the So she leaves the barn, and she's going through the woods, and that's when she bumps into Daniel. I think he's outside having a smoke. I think he is, and it's at that point.
Yes.
Was he having a smoke, or is it a smoke or a drink? Or
That isn't that after the car crash?
oh yeah, no, you're right. It is.
Because
Yeah,
it's actually isn't it the guy who gets it, like the butler who gets her?
that's right. Is it?
So after she gets out of the gate and she runs off into the woods,
Yeah.
Basically, so when she runs off into the woods, the butler tries to get her, and then she ends up strangling him with the thing, doesn't kill him, and then she gets into the car, and this is one of my favourite scenes of the whole film when the car gets like shut, like she presses a button on the car to go through to the people who own like the company who hire the cars out.
Yeah.
And she asked him to call the police, and he was like, "No, it's company policy. I have to shut the car down." And the car shuts down, and just that interaction between them two was I just loved it.
So we do get the car crash, and we then get Stephen's. Sorry, Daniel. He sort of switches over. He does his duty. Daniel, the alcoholic, sort of not really into it, son. Played by Adam Brody, he captures Grace, brings her back. We kind of have to do this at this point. Like she's been led on structurally. She's been led on the chase. She's hidden around the house. She's managed to escape. But we have to bring her back in. So structurally, this is what's got to happen, and it's absolutely fine. It's not dragged out, and they're very clever to move her around a lot, so you're always seeing sort of new scenarios, new setups, new locations, and it manages to avoid being too repetitive, actually. So again, it was very nicely done.
Mm.
Sorry, mate, go ahead.
I was going to say that one of my another one of my massive problems was, when it came to when she's trying to drive the car to get away. My head's just going all the time. Just drive. Don't focus on anything else. You're not out of the woods yet. Whatever. And then I don't know what the hell she presses, but then she goes on a call with like some company that's made up, and it's like, oh. After a conversation with them, she's saying, "Oh, call the police! I'm about to get murdered." The guy on the other line's like, "Oh, that car's been reported as stolen." And I'm just thinking, at what point was the car reported as stolen? Because she knocked out the guy, so he can't have reported it as stolen. None of the others are gonna know what's going on at the moment. Like, have the family stolen the car?
Again, this is one of the things that I mentioned at the start. There's a lot of things that you have to infer. And you have to infer what I inferred from that they were in on it. That they were
because
aware
the guy's voice was he didn't sound like someone who was surprised by her.
It just sounded very call centery, like yes, we deeply we care about your query, madam.
The little things the little problems with that scene, I kind of thought I didn't really care about them just because I really enjoyed the interaction between the two of them.
That's fine. That just seems like a reach to me. If that's going to be the case, have the butler just say, "Oh, the car company or whatever it's called. I've made sure they know that if our cars leave the lot, then it's stolen," something like that. So
it's inferring, isn't it? I mean, you're dealing with billionaires with lots of connections and lots of money. I think their bases, they could have covered their bases in that regard.
For me, it was nothing too egregious, but I do think that just a few extra minutes tacked onto the runtime to just maybe further explain these little things like that might have really helped.
Yeah, just throwing a line in there would have been good. And also doing that would help further build up the idea of just sort of how screwed she is, because literally the car company's in on it, the police are in on it. What are you going to do?
But what I do have a problem with in that particular scene is how quickly the butler caught up with the car.
Yeah, that was another thing. He was literally right outside driving for 30 to 50 miles an hour for 2 minutes.
There's no way he would have caught up with the car that quickly.
What do you mean? He's Usain Bolt, mate, with a burnt face and recently been knocked out.
I do. I know we're sort of going back a bit, but I just want to go back to the car crash scene.
Oh, go for it.
I really love the interaction between the butler and the family, because obviously they're talking on them. They're doing like a face chat, and obviously he leaves the phone on and he starts whacking on the classical music again. His downfall, because because obviously she gets up and she's getting ready to kick his seat and which caused the crash, and they're like, turn around, turn the music down, turn around. And he's just going tra la la la.
Behind you, Jamie. Jamie, turn around. He's behind you. Jamie.
Yes.
Oh my God, just look around.
Yeah. And
it's endless screen tonight, guys.
And obviously he's just completely oblivious, and they're just all watching in awe as this all just unfolds on their smartphone, and they're just and then at the end, Kittredge is, I'm calling it Kittredge, I don't care. He's like, "Oh, we're fudged. And then he goes and has this massive hissy fit.
Queen Boudica, there's a side thing in chat about Pumpkinhead. Yes, I think it is Stan Winston, who's usually the effects guy. He tried his hand directing Pumpkinhead, which is this brilliant, very unusual rural horror film. Lance Henriksen's amazing in it. It's slow, it's very dramatic, it's kind of downplayed, very tense, really good stuff. Sometimes the special effects people end up doing it, like Tom Savini, bit of a legend and a really interesting fellow. He ended up doing his own remake of Night of the Living Dead in 1990. Does happen. It's both of them, they did a pretty good job with it. One of the other big special effects guys whose name is Greg Nicotero, went on to do The Walking Dead. They
Oh.
get their experience in the
Yes.
industry in one thing,
Yep.
and they branch out.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. One other thing about the car thing. We're really stuck on the car. It's great.
Yeah.
I got big funny games vibes from it. Because the scene, like, she's out on her own, she's trying to pick up a lift, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
it's such a sort of a kick in the guts
Yeah.
for the audience.
Yeah.
Like, the first one goes by, and then she's waiting around. There's a tension, like, oh, do I go for it? Do I go for the second?
I got
And-
Alison. I got Alison Botha vibes.
Oh
Yeah.
well, yeah. Oof. Yeah.
But another thing with the car crash.
Yeah.
Driver got his seatbelt on. She obviously doesn't have a seatbelt on. Car does like 2 flips. She survives. He doesn't. But
Plot armor.
yeah.
There we are. Seatbelts
Oh.
kill.
Yeah, exactly. Don't wear seatbelts, you know. Libertarians are right. What can I say? Yeah. Right, because Daniel then finds her, doesn't he? And then does he let her go? I can't really remember what happened.
No, he
No.
knocks
She
her
gets
out.
tranked. She gets tranked. Yeah. Oh no.
She gets tranked and then she wakes up, and that's when the car crash happens, and then that's when Daniel comes. But he knocks her out with the gun, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously, and then he's like, "Oh, Dad, you can come out now," and he makes that little comment like, "Whose side are you on?" He's like, "Well, I kept her waiting, didn't I?" You know, again, sort of just planting the little seeds, like, whose side is he actually on? You know, just really emphasizing the internal struggles that he's having, because you can, again, going back to it, you can tell that he doesn't enjoy it, and I think his wife, is it Charity?
Yeah.
Charity.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite an interesting dynamic, because obviously you've got him who's all apprehensive, and yeah, she's all like gung ho. Oh yeah, let's let's get on with it. But yeah, I mean, again, I just thought it was an interesting piece of dialogue that they just sort of threw in there. You know, because he was saying, like, I'm the weak one. I've got to do it. I've got to do it to her. So, he was almost like pledging allegiance to his family. And even the dad comes out and is like, asks the question, like, whose side are you on? And it's like, well, clearly yours. There she is. Heads, tails.
Yeah. So we get back, and, like, structurally, this sort of has to happen. We've had the chase bit. You can't just do the chase the whole movie. So we switch it up. She is captured, and we see what has been awaiting her. This is something that was sort of set up at the beginning. I would have liked, she's taken into the sacrificial room, the Labale room that we saw at the very start. I would have liked this built up a little bit more. I need nothing more than one scene.
There needs to be more set up for it, yeah.
Yeah, it's just her sort of considering going into it, or asking what's in the room and someone shoos her out. Just 10 seconds. That's all I need. You can see I'm just nitpicking at this point, Charity. It's a good film. I end up nitpicking.
Are we talking about the room? Are we talking about the sacrifice room?
The sacrifice room with the label on the door.
Oh, right.
Something you're meant to worry about it. You're meant to be intrigued from the start, and I think it does need just that little bit more build up.
I mean, maybe it really worked for me that kind of came out of nowhere, because I found it really funny. At this point, I was kind of seeing it more as a comedy than a horror. Though it still tries to have some serious horror moments in it, like the goat barn, but. As I say, the tone changes constantly, which is, I think, a problem with it. But
it also it's got, story wise, it's kind of got an interesting problem in that. There's one particular film I'm avoiding mentioning, so we'll stick with Get Out. We'll stick with oh crikey, what was the other one I was going to say? Gosh darn it, I had one. Never mind. If a lot of the film is about someone being pursued, it can be a bit difficult to sort of know what to do with them when you've caught them. That can be difficult. The chase is a bit more interesting than the capture. It is. Oh, the other film I was going to say was The Strangers.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Strangers?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any horror film. You know this.
No worries, no worries. Charity?
I haven't. I don't.
Okay,
I think
no.
I've seen the sequel.
Oh, interesting.
The Strangers Pray at Night. Is that?
Yeah, it's something by dawn. I did Pray by Night.
Something like that, yeah.
It's got Christina Hendricks in, which is about the only reason I would watch it.
Oh, Queen.
Oh, Christina Hendricks. No, we can't Hendricks pill the audience. So stay on track. Sorry. Swear half the Firefly DVD sales were due to her. Anyway, The Strangers drags the. Don't take this the wrong way. It drags out the home invasion, so it's basically the whole movie. And then it's kind of difficult because when the people are actually captured, just like in Get Out, when Daniel is captured and he's at the mercy, it's sort of more difficult story-wise because the options are quite limited, and it's just you're dealing in the realm of like definites, like something is definitely happening, whereas in The Chase, it's just more intriguing, and the tone and the mood can be a bit harder to sustain. And I think this approached that issue and had quite a good way of dealing with it, because she's captured and you get the setup for what's going to happen. Like she's going to be sacrificed, and then it veers off and she gets to escape again. Like, how did you feel about that? Did you like that she got to escape again, or did you feel it was dragging it out? What do you
I kind of think it was needed for the end of the film, but I kind of made me like Daniel more, and I think it kind of was the decisive moment for him, because there was a lot of setup, you know, as you said before, you know, whose side are you on, and I think eventually him doing that health kind of subplot was kind of built into it. So I really quite liked the fact that he did it and he helped her with it.
Yeah. No, I was completely fine with her escaping again.
And I think she needed. I don't want to spoil. I mean, we're getting to the end now, but I think
spoiler.
the more what happened to the mother needed to happen to have the thing with Alex. So I think it was actually really necessary for that to happen. Alex's betrayal would not have been as believable had she not escaped and killed the mother.
Yeah. Again, inferring, he obviously sees his mother. Well, I mean, he sees because he finds Daniel first, doesn't he, with his throat slash, and obviously she hasn't done that. Grace hasn't done that. That was it Charity, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously she pegs it. Then obviously brains Andy McDowell, the mum. But by the time Alex has come in, he's already found his brother dead, and you know, comes and sees what she's doing to his mum. So again, you infer that he thinks that he thinks that she killed Daniel as well, and it was more. I think it was more Daniel's death than his mum's, because again, he says, you know, if he had to choose between Grace or his mum, he'd choose his mum. Sorry, he'd choose Grace. I beg your pardon. So if it was just her that was dead, then it would have been consistent for him to be like, all right, let's get out of here. But because it was Daniel that was killed, that was what tipped him over the edge, I think.
I do actually kind of. I remember. Do you remember the conversation that him and his mum had?
Yeah.
I kind of think at the end of that, it kind of inferred that maybe he wouldn't choose Grace over his mum just because she's
true.
got she has the last word in that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, that's a good point actually, because she does say, like, I don't think that someone you've known for 18 months would know you quite like your mother or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, no, that's a really good point. I forgot about that.
It was a nice touch, and actually there are lots of nice touches like that. Some more subtle things like just she's told that she won't fit in because she has, unlike everyone else, she's got a soul, and this is right at the start. It seems like a joke, and then it's sort of like, oh, they sold their souls.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's possibly why Lebel wants her sacrificed, is because actually she's a bit too good. But it's nice touches. I mean, Alex's switch around here is, I liked it. I like a betrayal in a film.
It was, again, it was predicted. Again, because there's a lot of things that are sort of mentioned at the beginning, sort of earlier scenes that sort of lead up to those again setups and payoffs. Because again, the crazy aunt is like when she's talking to Tony, I think, while Alex is handcuffed to the bed, and she's like, you know, he needs to accept that his position as the head of the house. And eventually he comes to accept it. So it was kind of predicted. Oh, Haryan, yep.
No, I don't. I didn't buy it after he sees his brother literally sacrificing himself to save her, and it's not even his wife. And like the whole time he's been on her side, and it's 2 conversations with his family. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, she doesn't know you as well as, or yeah, his family know him better than her, and it's like, yeah, you got these family commitments. But from what I could gather, the whole thing was like the family's breaking apart anyway. That's what I got from like the traditions bit, when it's like, oh, I used the cameras. It's like, oh, Grandpa wouldn't have used cameras. It's like,
that's right. And,
yeah,
and
but
they
he would if
mentioned
he had them.
Yeah, and they mentioned the masks as well, because they didn't use the masks this time round because it was like, oh, it's just an old tradition.
No, they were even better
No.
than that. Come on, that was the greatest line in the whole film, when they were saying like, "What's with the mask?" And he's like, "It was from the 80s." I love that.
Yeah, it was only one. Yeah, it was only like one generation that did that. I don't think it was from the start. Yeah.
Oh, that cracked me up. I mean, it's a very knowing reference to the 80s slashers horrors. It was great.
No, I really appreciated that.
It's quite interesting because we're all getting very different reads on where Alex was. Like, I think he is ambivalent. He's not certain the whole time, because he's literally starts saying, "Look, we could just go. We could leg it," and I think that shows he's on the fence. But everything feeds into his decision. And I would also say there's a bit like the way she very understandably and reasonably is sort of backing off from him and is showing like, no, I don't trust you, I don't forgive you, when he comes to help her and free her. I think that basically makes his mind up as well. Like, no, this is there's no coming back from this.
Because he says, doesn't he?
With family.
Yeah, because he says, you're not going to be with me after this, are you?
Yeah. That's part of what I think flipped him. I mean, she's done nothing wrong here. He just decides, fine, okay, we're going family mode.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it was more Daniel's death that turned him over, that took him over the edge personally, because obviously, you know, that I mean, he loved his brother, didn't he? I mean, it was out of the whole family, that was the one person that he still felt connected to. So I still feel like that played a bigger hand in him turning. Yeah,
I like that.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It's a good moment of tension, like whether it's real or not.
I love her reaction as well. She was just like, "Oh, that happened."
Yes. We're leaning a little more on the comedy on that side, you know. Memorably gory, but I think they aren't.
Oh, the end just made me laugh, but it was satisfying as well.
They aren't trying to scare you. That is just throwing lots of splatter on the wall, which is sort of that's fine.
So I had to look this up, because when I when that ending happened, so for those who haven't seen it, spoilers. The sun comes up, dawn is upon us, and they're all like cringing, like, oh my god, we're gonna die, and nothing happens initially. And so they're like, okay,
the timing was perfect.
And they're like, okay, well, nothing's happened. Oh, okay, this is obviously just BS, but we still need to get rid of Grace now because she knows too much. And then the dad just explodes, and then obviously they all start exploding one by one, and then it's just left with Alex and Grace. And obviously, one thing to note is that some of the people, like Charity, like the bigger guy, they're not blood family, but they are family through marriage. So they've all gone through this ritual as well. But they explode. And I thought to myself, why didn't Grace explode? Because Alex does, and Grace was married into the family. So I was looking it up, and so they basically said that Alex existed in that moment as part of the Ladomas family, and also as part of his family with Grace. But once she removed the ring, she broke their bond and was no longer part of her family. He was a full original Ladomas, therefore eligible to die. So hence why he yeeted, but she didn't, because the last thing she says to him before he dies is, Alex,
I want
I want a divorce. Yeah, and then takes the ring off.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can
thought it was
I can buy that for the symbolism. Like
Yeah.
that's the so I sort of buy that, but I was thinking more literal, like they haven't actually got divorced. So
I think it's
Well-
kind of arbitrary based on Mr. LaBelle, because he at
Yeah.
the end he flashed up and nods to it, say, well done,
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sure about that explanation. I think it's more just symbolically, like this was a trial and she was the winner.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I also forgot to mention something because I'm forgetful that we have in this image something I wanted to bring up. If you look through Monsieur LaBelle to the pattern on the chair, that chair is kept empty, and it's there in the scene where they're choosing the game. We're going way back here.
Yeah.
Remember, there's the puzzle box,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? I want you to look at that picture at the back of the chair, and remember that they were exploring a puzzle box. Because I'm going to bring up a picture of the heck is it called? The Lament configuration from Hellraiser. I think it's a reference.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was just fancy Victorian decoration, to be honest. But
Hang on.
I think it may have been, because I think I watched a video about this film, and I think so. They mentioned something about that.
Okay, I've got the jankiest picture of it, but bear with me. All right. Golden brown, like the back of the chair. There's a puzzle box on.
Ah.
Oh, 1
I'm
second.
sorry, Charity, I'm contractually obliged to do one massive reach every episode. That's what I'm going for this time.
Right.
I
There is,
don't-
Go on.
yeah, it's a reference to the Hellraiser. Yeah, so we examined that deliciously absurd radio not ending and what it has. Box has the immediate foreboding of the puzzle cube in Hellraiser.
Oh,
So yeah, it is a reference by the looks
did
of
I
it.
call it?
You called it. Bear with
Yeah.
me.
it's so.
Yeah. While it's only vaguely hinted for most of the runtime, what that deal is, the game box has the immediate foreboding of the puzzle cube in Hellraiser. If you saw the trailer for Ready or Not, you'd know the premise is that the box will spit out a card that requires a deadly game of hide and seek, much to the newlyweds' chagrin. However, this is not always the case. The only So that box itself is a reference to the Hellraiser box.
I'm so chuffed.
There you go.
And if we're talking symbolism, I'm going to bring it in here. The guy playing LaBelle is actually a cameo by the producer James Vanderbilt. So just to reiterate, the role of the evil being with no soul who has access to all the money and demands they sell their soul. But in order for him to sort of give them tons of money, just have to do a few evil things and I'll get you loads of money and fame and success. For some reason, they had the Hollywood producer play that. I guess they were short on the casting budget. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we come on, I had to say that. How cool is that?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, we end up in short order with the end of the film.
Oh yeah, she's just outside. Yeah.
I love that.
This pretty cool image. She's kind of a boss
Iconic.
at this point. It is.
Yeah.
Kind of is.
Yeah.
It's the last line that gets me as well, where she just looks up and says, "In-laws." So that was good.
I had a. Oh, what we got here?
I was going to say rewind a bit. I'm just thinking back to when she knocks the way to. Does she knock the butler out with the lantern?
No, the dad.
The dad, sorry, yeah. And obviously throws that away and starts the fire. That fire takes ages to spread. Considering it goes right into a really flammable curtain. I mean, fires go up quick, so. But anyway, that's just another thing. We can talk about this scene now.
If you want to know how quick fires can spread in an old building, check out my Sodder family video.
Yes.
Oh wow, a video on true crime. That's super cool. Where can people find these videos?
Well, funny enough, they can find it by searching YouTube /that crime guy.
Ah, man, I would love to, but I'm busy on Wednesday all the way through Monday. I kind of really need fresh video releases on true crime on a Tuesday, ideally.
What, around about midday?
About then is really good for me.
Sorted.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
All that from one
Love
bag
that.
of oranges.
Definitely not scripted.
We get to the end. We get a heck of a punchline here. You know, this is a comedy horror. The comedy has delivered. I enjoyed it. I'd like, before we start scoring it out of 12 burgers, as we've gotten to the habit of doing now, and do remember to include whether there's cheese in, guys. Some of the thing. Okay, I'm gonna rain on the parade a little bit here.
No.
Because I did sort of have as much as I enjoyed it, I was like a little concerned about the themes and the messaging.
The theme.
Okay.
I mean, the theme is like basically your super successful family, your wealth is all accumulated via evil. You know, you had to sort of sell out and do a deal with the devil to get your success, and that continually demands cruelty. Like, that's kind of the message of the film. Like, it has to end like this success, this status it comes from evilness. It comes not from being a badass John Galt-like character and working for it. It's like, no, you're evil, successful millionaires. How dare? And I'm just a little, you get a little skeptical when you've got that safe target in,
I think you're reading too much into it. Because I think if you do make money off, say, doing something evil, I think you do have to consistently be cruel to keep that wealth, really. These things in real life will have feedback loops like that, where you keep having to do bad things to keep your power, basically.
Oh, Harry, no.
But I don't think the film's saying every rich person did a deal with the devil. I think it's saying this particular family.
Yeah.
No, I'm sort of on leaning towards what Haryan was referring to. I think it's just this specific family, just made a deal with the devil, and it paid off for them. And competition's quite cutthroat in that regard, really.
Okay.
But I think I mean, in terms of, I say, but in terms of this specific family, then yes, the point stands. The if it's trying to send a wider message, I mean, I certainly didn't get. I certainly didn't get that. I tell you what, my biggest problem with this film was, if you really want to, if we're raining on it now.
We're not raining on it. We're doing a balanced commentary, but go for it.
I'm going to rain on it, because this was, for me, the biggest issue. Okay, so Alex obviously grew up in this family, knows the traditions, knows the rituals, knows what's happened to previous family members. Why on earth would he want to get in a relationship with somebody? Why doesn't he just go MGTOW?
You do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit for that, but I think they tried a little bit to offset that by saying, well, it doesn't always happen. It's very rare that the hide and seek game actually gets played. Yeah. But you do have to suspend your disbelief to be like, would he still risk it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I just felt like if it was me, I wouldn't, and I'm vehemently against sort of like these rituals anyway. Taking the risk would be too much of a, even if there was a good chance that it was going to be all right. I just feel like if it was me, no doubt I'm no doubt my partner's going to be the one that draws the crappy card.
Well, especially since she was such a terrible person as well. Maybe he was hoping to marry her and get her killed. Who knows?
Well,
I don't think he was trying to do that, by the way.
No, of course not. But I just
that crime guy, you are right. Like Alex's understanding of this situation, like the rest of the family, they don't care about her. That's fine. But his sort of his characterization over his willingness to have her take the risk it's a tricky point. It is a tricky point in the film, and it is like, this is a 93-minute movie. We've got room for like 5 minutes to just do a little.
Yeah, no, Fez. Yeah, no, you're right. They do make a point of it, but again, I feel like he should have weighed up the risks, knowing that people have died and knowing that there was a chance. If he really loved her, would he want to put her through that chance, or just not marry her? If it's if she has to get married into the family to play the game, why doesn't he just not marry her? There's plenty of couples out there that do it, and he was already on his way to being estranged from the family. So could he have just not, perhaps?
Yeah, it is a tricky thing. It's a hurdle that the film does have to get you over.
Yeah.
Horror films do have to get you over the hurdle of, why are they not running away right now and screaming and etc.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Charity. Like, you have to suspend your disbelief at that moment. But I just felt like, in that sort of situation,
it was something that I kind of thought about, and I was like, actually, I enjoyed the rest of the film that much that I didn't really care.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it too, but it was just a niggling thing in the back of my mind. I just felt like, if he made a different decision, then he wouldn't be in the position that he found himself in.
Yeah.
Let the others play the game. Let them do their weird rituals, and you go off and do your own thing. You don't have to get involved with your family. It was already established that there were strains going. There was tension there anyway, so he didn't need to go back there. That's what I'm saying. It is my main point. He didn't need to go back there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think it was too out there to still marry a woman, even with the knowledge that there's a risk that she might have to die.
Again, Fez makes a good point. She was an orphan. She wanted marriage in a family.
They in fairness, it's a hurdle to get over, and I can buy that. Alex has sort of convinced himself, like, it'll be fine. It's never hide and seek. I mean, the trouble is, he's seen it himself.
Yeah.
So it's not like a distant myth for him, but he's sort of, I think, hoping that he can get away with it. So I can go with it, but I do recognize it. It's like the hurdle. In Cabin of the Woods, it's a thing that they make a point of, where every group has to sort of be presented with, how can I say, an opportunity to transgress and make a mistake.
Yeah.
And they have to sort of run straight into it head first and break their nose on the wall and then sort of get around the adversity. I mean, in this case, it's not really her. She's not seeing the obvious danger. He is. It's him making the bad decision. So it's not totally standard. I don't know. I think there is some subversion in there. Like she's taking down the very safe target with the messaging, and she's destroying her wedding dress as she does it. Guys, come on, the symbolism, guys, the symbol, the themes.
That's true.
The mise en scène.
Well, and it makes sense as why she's doing it as well. The dress keeps getting caught on things, so she tears it off. She gets her hand injured, so she uses it as a bandage. It was great.
No, Haryan, it's a message. marriage is
It's-
an oppressive institution that they'll take you out, and you need to destroy the symbols of that institution, and divorce will free you.
I think you've read into it too much again.
Yeah.
I had one successful reach this stream. I thought I was on a roll. I thought I would put that out there.
Again, yeah.
It's
Given
fine.
given that she's the one that wanted the marriage and family, it would be a bit of a reach to suggest that she wants to tear it all down.
All right, that goes in the box of bad ideas. Okay.
I think she was just happy that a family that was trying to kill her is dying themselves in the funniest way I've seen on screen.
That
I didn't
scene
like-
was. Oh, that made me laugh though, and it made me laugh when she just starts howling
Yeah,
as it's happened.
Oh,
And-
yeah. It was great.
It was very well done. I mean, let's also say, for all that we complain about digital blood, which this obviously was,
yeah.
it looked good in here.
Well, there was. I think I read a bit. I think actually a few of them were actually practical effects. You know, like a few of them. I think
Did
they used
they?
like
Oh,
they used like.
lovely.
I think they used. I mean, I think a couple of them were. They had to see. They would have had to have CGI'd like a lot of it. But there was apparently they used like fake blood and like mashed bananas to try to make the blood and guts.
Oh, fantastic.
And they had like a cannon thing, like a spraying it on the actors.
I mean, it whatever they did, it worked. I remember for Scanners, they did a head explosion. Like they build the head and they filled it with the corn syrup and apple cores, just like rotten apples, and then shot it with a shotgun. Yeah, did a very good job of it. So yeah, it was some fantastic deaths in this, some very creative kills, and the explosions were just. I was kind of thinking like it would be a very different but very interesting film if the curse had not been real.
Yeah.
But then on some level, I kind of felt like the film was almost saying, "Nah, we're going to finish this now," and so it just. We're at the finale now. Everyone's blowing up. Like, oh, I can forgive it. To be honest, it was probably the right choice because a fast film, a very concise film, went for this very concise ending. It didn't drag it out. It, if I may, it went out with a bang, if you will.
I get it.
Yeah, so chat, I've seen some scores in burgers go in where Empire, you gave the 4.5 with cheese. Yeah,
I think chat's been a bit
got-
harsh, to be honest.
Yeah.
it's a bit harsh.
I
It's
thought
a
it
bit
was.
harsh.
Even
I
I
know-
thought it was better than that.
I know you wanted the emotional depth. You wanted a bit more. Like, I could have gone with that. I did want more horror. I did want it dragged out a bit, but I'm a sourpuss like that. I've got a 5 here. That's, I mean, on the 12 burger scale, that is relatively low. How about yourself, Haryan? How many burgers is this getting from you?
Probably, I'm leaning towards more a 6 or maybe even a 7. So because there was some tism in it, definitely. There are bits that make me go, "Wait, what the hell?" But then there were loads of bits that are set up and paid off quite well. And people did point out actually before that she had an elephant gun, not a shotgun. So those bullets would have actually fit, I think, in that case, which is fair enough. I was looking for shotgun stuff on Google, that's why I got it wrong. So that's actually fine. But then yeah, it's things like, well, why is either the ammo or the gun deactivated? And everything else obviously in the room isn't. I don't know. But as that crime guy says, you can infer that, but I don't know, a throwaway line might do, because if the fat guy has the crossbow, why doesn't he go, "Why do I have to use this crap? Why can't I use like the elephant gun?" And then obviously it can be mentioned, "Oh, it doesn't work, it's deactivated," whatever. So that might be better than
but then
taking it away.
but then it spoils it in that moment.
It spoils the
True,
scene where she's
true.
trying to be quiet.
No, we could have dramatic irony if it's, and tension. Like, it's different if we know it won't work. Like, you feel extra dread for her.
No, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
The old dramatic irony. Oh yeah. So we've a 6 or a 7. That's fair. That's fair.
6 or 7, yeah. Probably leaning
I,
towards 6.
I,
But yeah.
I'd probably be I'd probably be far too generous, to be fair.
No, go for it.
I'd probably be about, I don't know, like I guess it's just because it really does fit like the kind of horror that I like. So I would have given it like a 9 or a 10, just because I really enjoyed it that much.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. This is a niche genre. Most people will not watch the stuff we're watching here. So if you liked it, you liked it. That is fantastic, and I think it was a good choice. That Crown Guy. Can we have a? Oh, sorry. Were those burgers with cheese?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I can go with that. That Crime Guy. How many burgers?
Love me a good burger with cheese. I'd probably be sort of pushing towards 7, 8 burgers. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was pleasantly, and I think it's mostly because I was pleasantly surprised. Because, like I say, I'm a bit iffy when it comes to horror comedies because I tend to find that they struggle to maintain the balance. But there were some really good scenes, like the opening scene and the barnyard scene, which I felt were really good horror moments. And then equally, like there was some good comedy sort of sprinkled in there throughout, and it made me laugh at some points, which is quite important because they don't horror comedies don't normally make me laugh. I mean, Brain Dead was one of those, which obviously was meant to be an over the top comedy. I don't recall laughing once. In that one,
Not even I kick ass for the Lord.
Okay, the exception being that bit. Okay.
Right, thank you.
You didn't laugh in the custard scene or the
no.
So you found your dad's old stag movies? You didn't like that?
Nah. It's not. I didn't like it. It just it didn't sort of get me in the same way that pulling your head over a large hole while your hand stuck through a nail, looking at the kid that essentially done that to you, and went, "You fudger," and then you little fudger, and then just that little moment. But yeah, I kick ass for the Lord. Okay, that was probably the one bit that got me. But yeah, so I'd be pushing 7, 8 burgers.
Yeah, I'm very similar to that Crown Guy in this. I have a sort of a natural aversion to horror comedies, like because I'm always craving more horror. But this delivered some really nice stuff. The scene in the barn, for one, is I'd say a very good example. I also like that it I could have actually had a longer film. It wasn't incoherent. It was incredibly concise, and I think actually it's kind of a bit refreshing.
I felt refreshed. I felt like it was quite refreshing, but I watched it, to be fair.
Yeah,
because I've seen a lot of these. Obviously, I've seen a lot of these films because this is my favourite genre. So it felt quite, quite fresh.
Yeah, it's a fresh one. Like there's also, I think the influences are quite clear, but that's no bad thing. Like all horror is riffing on other horror and homaging and refining. So I'm not complaining about that. I did notice lots of Your Next, lots of Get Out, a little bit of Funny Games, some of the Strangers in there. There's another thing. Anyway, and The Babysitter as well. So it straddled a lot of things and balanced them really well. I'm between an 8 and a 9. I think if I'd be giving it a solid 9 with cheese. If I were like, I'd say this is best watched with a whole load of mates with you, about 2 beers in, and all having a good laugh, all participating. Or if you're in the cinema, it would really work. I think it would be one where the whole screen is laughing with you, and it would have the atmosphere would be would really add to it. Like I feel it's a crowd pleaser,
Yeah.
So I'd give it a 9. I could recommend this to anyone, I think, to be honest, too. It's not too scary. You can bring people in quite happily, but it's gory enough to satisfy horror veterans, I think. Yeah. And it'll give horror fans a decent amount to think about. Like there's things being set up and subverted. So yeah, it's very competent, I think.
I think
I'm
it
glad,
did a good job.
I'm glad everyone liked it. I made up.
Oh yeah, like I say, I was pleasantly surprised by it. I wasn't going into it expecting much. I was thinking that we were going to be coming into it just sort of, sort of slating it a bit. But actually, when I finished watching it, I was like, ah, man, this is pretty good.
Yeah, it changed
Yeah.
my opinion really shifted when we got to the barn.
Yeah,
No, actually, sorry, my opinion shifted after that first meeting with Daniel when he lets her go. That's when I started to really warm to it.
okay.
And then the high point for me was the barn.
I think I think this film, it might be one of those films that's actually better to watch through again.
Yeah.
Because you just first time you watch it, kind of the tone's all over the place. Whereas when you watch it again, you're kind of expecting it, and you know when the tonal shift's going to be. So it's a bit less. You can get your mind more readily for when you're supposed to laugh and when you're supposed to be like more scared. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess the other question is, we know they can handle the comedy well. I feel they're giving us signs of horror literacy. So does this make you more optimistic about Scream 5?
I would say so.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, Scream has always had like humor in it, but like I not to this level, obviously. So it's a bit. I'm a bit like I'm really. I am excited for Scream 4 a bit, but I'm a bit scared about it. I don't want them to ruin it because I feel like there's a huge potential to just completely ruin Scream now, especially after so long.
Coming into there's about a 10-year break between oh gosh, what is it? So Scream 3 was 2000 or 2001. It was 2000.
Yeah.
And then
Bloody hell.
I'm an encyclopedia, man. I'm an encyclopedia. And then Scream 4 is 2011. Scream 5 is next year. It's like
Yeah.
you've got to deliver something pretty
Yeah.
spectacular, you know.
But I'm just scared that they'll. I mean, I don't want them to kill. Like, if they kill Sydney or Gale off, I feel like I might have to leave the cinema. I'd be very annoyed. To be fair, but it's like, oh,
I just wish they had. I don't want them involving any of the original guys, to be honest. I think because I just thought that Sydney's arc ended beautifully in Scream 3, and it was the best
Yeah.
bit of the movie for me. Just
yeah,
she had dealt with her issues and she was confident again and she felt free, and I loved that. And just her coming back and forth felt very, very weird to me.
I'm a bit scared that they've most of the decision to make the new one is because they've seen that Halloween has got two more films coming out. And the success of Halloween, like 2018, which I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was really good.
I think I'm just a bit worried that they've seen that and they thought, oh, I want to cash in on this. But then I have kind of been reading like rumors and things that have gone around because I am looking forward to it in a way. But apparently, Nev Campbell and David Arquette have said that they really like the script for it.
Okay.
So I'm very on the fence with it.
Yeah,
They could have easily dropped out if they didn't want to do it, if they thought it would be terrible. So
Yeah.
I mean, do we think perhaps that some of the reasons why we've waited like what will it be 11 years now for a Scream 5 is partly due to scripting, perhaps?
I can
If they're-
see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Scream
I mean,
4 failed. They wanted to do a trilogy based on Scream 4, and it didn't.
Right.
You know, that didn't happen. So I
just
think
thinking-
they were taking their time. I like to think anyway.
Oh man, Queen, Boudica, the Rob Zombie Halloweens, I hated them.
Oh, I did. I thought they were awful.
Yeah, I just don't like Rob Zombie as a director. But after seeing this one, knowing that the people who obviously worked on this are going to be working on Scream, I feel a bit more confident about it. I mean, obviously there's no guarantees, but they did this film competently. But this was my only concern is this is an original film, whereas you've got Mima, you've got Scream, which is obviously already an established franchise. and I imagine that these guys will have a different vision with the characters that previous directors / producers would have had before. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how true to form they'll keep with the existing characters, and how they'll work with any new characters that they bring in.
Yeah, that's my worry with it. Because they're very competent. Clearly, this film's quite good, but then they're taking on an entirely new thing. So
Yeah.
they're taking on something that they didn't create. So hopefully, I mean, if they've made this really well. I think they probably have respect for Scream as a franchise. So I'm hoping that they'd think about that and think, okay, let's handle this the best we can.
Yeah, competent is a really good description of this, and I think they should be flexible. So, I mean, I'm gonna give it a go anyway, to be honest. But this is built quite a lot of I guess. How can I say? I'm more intrigued.
Optimism.
I'm more optimistic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good description. That is a very good description of it. I am switching over some image now. It's always awkward when I do this because I take away focus and go into another tab. But yeah,
Very
nice. So watch with some optimism. Charity, maybe we have to get you back for a Scream 4 rewatch in advance of Scream 5.
Oh
if you
yeah,
fancy.
yes. I feel like I probably enjoyed that one a lot more than everyone else. So
Nice.
Well, like I say, I've not seen it yet, so
okay.
to be confirmed.
Well, we'll manage it. Where's Mima? Yeah, bless you. We're pretty much at the end of the stream now, but the film we watched was Ready or Not, from 2019. And what I'd just say is we go full spoilers in this review. So if you want to be watching it unspoiled, then watch it. It's very short, and then come back to this. I think we did some good analysis on it. I'm really happy with this one. And I'll give you advance warning of next week's film. So everyone, you can watch in advance, okay? I'll announce the horror homework now.
Okay.
Because I wanted to do this earlier. I wanted to do an audience request earlier. So we are going to be doing 1 hour photo
Yes.
with Robin Williams.
Oh, get in.
Yes. It has been
yeah.
requested for a few weeks. It has been. I've got someone lined up as a guest in for it, so that'll be a first timer to the stream. I think it's not so obvious who it is, but you might be able to pick it up.
Oh my god!
That was a god tier pun.
That was pretty good.
You are the worst.
All right, there's excitement. Yeah, I know Empire, you've requested it. It's all right. I am trying to work out a good way to get requests from the audience. I sort of feel like at least maybe every 1 in 10 streams as an audience, like an audience voted one would be good, but maybe 1 in 5 will go what the response is like. But because I do have a long list of things that I want us to cover. But anyway, I thought I would announce it then and there. That we've got 1 hour photo as next week's film.
Oh, you have no idea how excited I am to get back into this. I've seen it years ago, and I just remember it being one of my favourite Robin Williams films. So I am looking forward to refreshing my memory with this one.
Oh, nice. I've never seen it.
Oh,
I've seen Robin Williams do serious acting in Fisher King, Good Morning Vietnam, Awakenings, Insomnia, and I love him doing serious stuff. So I'm super excited. And we've been going for over 2 hours, so I've forgotten if I already said at the start, but there is additional homework if you want it. A bonus piece of work you can do for me, which is share this channel. It's hard to grow on YouTube, so if you have some people who you think would like my videos, then please just send them a link, tell them you like the channel, say you think the video will be of interest to them. If you're sort of unsure of what might be good to send people, I have made a best of playlist, and I felt really cringe doing it, being like, yeah, these are my finest works. I felt awkward, guys. I felt awkward, but those are the videos that I think are sort of the best of the channel. That is a good way to bring people in. So you would really
wanna-
be helping me grow the channel if you know someone who would enjoy this work. Send them a recommendation. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And,
Of course.
yeah. And with that, I think we should probably sign off. So I want to give a massive thank you to all the guests. I feel you basically co-hosts at this point, that crime guy and Haryan.
We've
so
only
maybe-
been on every episode.
I know. All right. So we'll go in this order. So thank you to our guest, Charity Rivers, a debut on the stream, and I think a solid one.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I've been really, I absolutely love your channel. I think you're criminally underrated. Because I just feel like you put a lot of detail into like your videos and stuff, and it's just really good.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean,
Yeah.
I get obsessive with my editing. One of the things I love was, no, thank you, I really appreciate it. I loved when that crime guy would post back all the things that he noticed are hidden. Not that there are things hidden in the videos, guys. That's a scurrilous rumor. Yeah. So yeah, you did a grand job, and I think we have to have you back on. And really great choice. Plenty to
thank
say
you.
about this one.
Definitely.
And you've got a channel yourself if you want to do some shilling.
Oh yeah, I do. I have a channel of me, just me moaning about stuff, honestly. But yeah, no, I do like sometimes do political stuff, or I'll talk about like news. But I haven't uploaded for about a month, I think, month and a half, just because I have been really busy with university and stuff. But it's coming to the end of term soon, so I'll be able to dive in that, as much as I can then.
Oh, nifty. Oh, I clicked the wrong comment.
Oh.
James Silver, yes, that is an Omen poster. I've got 4 posters in that room, and largely chosen for the art style. So yes, that is the Omen from 1976. You can also see Candyman from 1992. And if the camera were to magically pan over, then you would see Silence of the Lambs from 1994. What is it, guys?
91, I think.
No. It's one of them. It's early 90s.
Science 1991.
Ah, there we go. And the final one is Child's Play, the Tom Holland classic. Love a bit of Child's Play. Unfortunately, I showed you. I don't know if I'm not going to pull it up now. I'll maybe do it another time. But in poster format, the shopping looks really kind of bad. Like it's old school design. It actually looks kind of bad in poster format. So I'm sort of regretting that one. Never mind. So Haryan, do you have anything to shill, sir?
What was the I think the last thing I did was laughing at the Guardian stream. I'm pretty sure it is. So go watch that on Saturday. That was good. It will be my 50th
really
episode.
good guest on, I think.
I think I did, yeah. I mean, one that was terrible. Something about a horror show. She was awful. The other 2 are pretty good though.
I think the highlight of that stream for me was when I said I was a vegan and you kicked me.
Yeah. That has to happen every time. Yes.
That was brilliant.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to announce that this was Haryan's last appearance on the Double Feature Horror Show.
But no, of course, we did have the lovely proper horror show on Laughing at the Guardian at the weekend with Owine and Time Stealer from fans of AA channel will know who they are. So it was good. We learned a lot about the Guardian and their history. They they preferred the Confederates, were not fans of Palestine, and were fairly racist back in the day. Back when they were based. Anyway, as it comes to videos, the only one I've really got an idea for is I've not really been covering Extinction Rebellion and their shenanigans recently, so I'll just do a kind of roundup of what they've been up to recently tomorrow, and then whatever else annoys me during the week. I'm not going to promise Soma this week because I know I don't have time this week. But I will finish that game.
I started
swear.
watching your stream on it. Soma looks amazing.
Oh, it's great. It's the best horror game I've ever played.
But not completed.
Still not completed, but I will do it sometime soon. I swear.
All right.
But yeah, that's all shilling.
Nice.
Oh, regional variations tomorrow on Tailed Features channel as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. And that crime guy, go get shilling. See,
So yep. So I'm that crime guy. You can follow me on YouTube, that crime guy, and also on Twitter. Links are all in my channel page. I launched a new video that came out today, midday UK time. I will give you guys the heads up though, if you haven't seen it. It's quite a harsh one. It's probably one of the worst domestic abuse cases I've ever covered. So, you know, if you are comfortable with watching something along those lines, then by all means, but equally I understand that if you want to give that one a skip.
be
Brutally
hard
honest
going,
about
isn't it?
It was quite a tough one. But I appreciate it, obviously, if you do want to watch it and whatnot. But yeah, for those who have seen it, it's had quite a response, which obviously I'm pleased with the responses that the video's had. But I think, yeah, with one or two, it's sort of connected with people on a personal level, which I kind of wasn't expecting almost. So yeah, it's quite a powerful one, I have to say. And also, I have a community tab now, so you can keep up to date with me on that. And I actually posted something recently. Fred West, apparently one of his victims has potentially been found in a cafe. They've been missing since 1968.
Nice.
Goodness me.
It's for the family.
Not so nice.
Well, it's nice for the family in that, you know, they get some. Hopefully, they'll get some closure. But yeah.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, thanks. I realised something I should do, as well as leaving a pinned comment with all the films recommended. I will put all the recommended old school films and the horror homework in out on my social media. You can find me on Twitter at Proper Horrors. I was considering Pro Ho Show Clo, but I figure that's just going to be a nightmare. But wouldn't that have been good? I'd have liked that. And you can also find me on Minds under Proper Horror Show as well. So those are the two places you can find me. You can ask me anything you want outside of the stream, because I'm only on here once a week, although I'm pretty active on YouTube comments. And you will also make sure you will not miss out on any announcements of the horror homeworks, because I don't always announce it on stream. But just a final reminder, next week's horror homework, we're going to be watching 1 Hour Photo. That is all from me for this week. Once again, thanks to everyone who watched live, everyone who's watching on the catch-up, and Haryan, that crime guy, and Charity Rivers for coming on and I think making a really good stream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
it
fun.
It was. Thank you for asking me on.
No, absolute pleasure. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.